Today, we have an awesome round of 40 random facts. The Human Genome Project was launched in 1990. So was the Hubble Space Telescope. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission estimates that around 10,000 people in this country are injured each year in escalator accidents and must go to an emergency room for treatment. While phone jack sizes have evolved, the fundamental principles have remained the same since their creation in 1878, over 140 years ago. Fun tidbit: humanity achieved the monumental feat of landing a person on the moon before the simple, yet revolutionary idea of putting wheels on suitcases became widely adopted. MSG, or monosodium glutamate, is a naturally occurring substance. It's a salt form of glutamic acid, an amino acid found in many foods, including tomatoes, cheese, and mushrooms. While MSG is often produced synthetically, it's essentially the same as the glutamate found naturally in these foods. The populations of humpback whales worldwide have rebounded. When the species was listed as endangered in 1966, only about 5,000 humpback whales were left. Today, that number has multiplied at least 20-fold and could be as high as 100,000. Observations of the American bumblebee have declined by a staggering 90% over the past 20 years. This sharp decline is a cause for concern, as bumblebees are crucial pollinators for many plants, including crops. Zimbabwe holds the Guinness World Record for most official languages. The Southern African nation has 16 official languages. Koalas are the only non-primate animals known to have fingerprints. This is a fascinating example of convergent evolution, where two unrelated species independently evolve similar traits. Fingerprints most likely enhance grip, and may very well play an equally important role in the development of tactile sensitivity needed in both species to manage the kinds of objects we routinely handle. An albatross takes its time to reach maturity. It can take up to 10 years. Many species can live well over 50 years. Some individuals have even been recorded to live up to 70 years or more. Titin, also known as connectin, is the largest known protein, composed of 34,350 amino acids. The scientific name for titin is 189,819 letters long, and it's made up of the names of all the amino acids that make it up. It's cited as the longest word in the world. Some argue that such a long chemical name doesn't truly qualify as a word in the traditional sense. Guam's jungles have as many as 40 times the amount of spiders as nearby islands due to a lack of forest birds. The decline in bird population is attributed to the accidental introduction of the brown tree snake in 1940. 19 astronauts have died during spaceflight that either crossed or was intended to cross the Kármán line, which is commonly considered the boundary of space. Given that approximately 676 people have flown into space, this results in a fatality rate of about 2.8%. Did you ever wonder why the save icon still looks like a floppy disk, even though we haven't used those in ages? It's kind of a funny little design quirk, isn't it? Well, that's called a skeuomorph. It's when something new keeps the look of the old thing it replaced, so even though we're saving files digitally, the icon still looks like a physical floppy disk. Sloths' hands don't work like human hands. In fact, they work the exact opposite when it comes to resting position. While human hands are naturally opened while relaxed, sloth hands are naturally closed. This means that sloths must exert energy to open their hands, the inverse of humans. Thus, while asleep in the trees hanging onto branches, sloths' hands are clamped down, keeping them secure during their rest. Magnolia trees have been around since the Cretaceous period, meaning dinosaurs were around to appreciate their beautiful blooms. But bees were not, because they came later in the evolution flowchart. So how did magnolia trees achieve the pollination that allowed them to survive and flourish over the past 95 million years? The answer is beetles. When a foraging beetle comes bearing pollen, the flower closes its petals, actually tepals, around the insect and traps it. Fresh pollen covers the beetle, and it's free to pollinate another flower. Platypuses create milk but don't feed their young via nipples. Instead, they excrete milk-like sweat all over their stomachs, and their babies lick it up. Because platypuses are aquatic animals, they don't produce sweat, so there's no chance of newly hatched babies ingesting perspiration along with their sustenance. Still, the feeding process is less hygienic than that of other mammals because the milk doesn't go straight from a nipple to the mouth of the mother's young. To combat the possibility of bacterial infection or illness, platypus milk has an elevated amount of antibacterial proteins. Narcissists often develop an idealized self-image that doesn't align with reality. They become deeply attached to this image and invest heavily in maintaining it, often at the expense of genuine relationships and personal growth. This discrepancy between their self-image and their actual self can lead to a range of problematic behaviors and interpersonal difficulties. Migraines are a complex neurological condition that can involve a variety of debilitating symptoms, including headaches, visual disturbances, nausea, and sensitivity to light and sound. A headache is just one symptom. Not all migraines include this step. The saiga antelope is a critically endangered species native to the Eurasian steppes, known for its distinctive, flexible nose that helps filter dust and warm cold air. These unique antelopes have experienced dramatic population declines, primarily due to poaching and habitat loss, with their lifespan ranging from 10-12 years in the wild. The award for the longest land mammal migration on the entire African continent goes to the Great Nile Migration in South Sudan, confirmed by a comprehensive aerial survey in 2024. Involving millions of antelopes from various species, this migration dwarfs the previously renowned Serengeti migration and is now recognized as the largest land mammal migration on Earth. Lewy body dementia is a type of dementia that affects thinking, movement, behavior, and mood. It is caused by abnormal deposits of a protein called alpha-synuclein in the brain, which form clumps called Lewy bodies. These clumps damage brain cells and interfere with communication between them. LBD is the second most common type of dementia after Alzheimer's disease. It's a progressive disease, meaning that symptoms worsen over time. Robin Williams is a famous case of someone who had this kind of dementia. The leatherback turtle knows a thing or two about travel. These deep-sea divers engage in the longest migration of any sea turtle on the planet. They cross the Pacific Ocean, traveling from feeding areas in California and Oregon to breeding grounds in Indonesia, covering more than 6,000 miles or 10,000 kilometers each way. Female leatherbacks will make these tremendous journeys to return to the exact beaches where they were born, navigating using an extraordinary combination of magnetic field detection, ocean currents, and celestial cues. In the African savanna, acacia trees have evolved a clever survival strategy to protect against herbivores. When heavily grazed by animals like giraffes, they release ethylene gas, a chemical signal that travels up to 45 meters. Neighboring trees detect this warning and within minutes ramp up their tannin levels, making their leaves toxic and unpalatable. While acacias can tolerate some level of grazing, they have evolved a remarkable mechanism to protect themselves from being completely consumed. Sooty shearwaters are renowned for their incredible migratory feats. These seabirds undertake one of the longest migrations of any bird species, covering vast distances across the Pacific Ocean. Their migration is a remarkable journey. They breed in colonies in the southern hemisphere, typically in New Zealand and Australia. After the breeding season, they embark on a long, arduous journey to the northern Pacific Ocean. Here they spend several months feeding on abundant food sources such as squid and small fish. Sooty shearwaters are true ocean nomads, spending most of their lives at sea. Around 232 million years ago, rain fell almost everywhere during a span known as the Carnian pluvial event. After millions of years of dry climates, Earth entered this wet period and stayed in it for nearly 2 million years. TASER is an acronym for Tom Swift Electric Rifle. The term has become a proprietary eponym. It's even a verb today, considering you can be tasered. If you're standing still at the equator, you're actually moving at about 1,037 miles per hour due to Earth's rotation. Book nerds are known for loving the smell of old books, and believe it or not, there is a word for it. Bibliosmia means the act of smelling books, and to some, it is as aromatic as perfume. A 28-gram milk chocolate bar contains approximately 3 to 6 milligrams of caffeine. While this amount is relatively low, it could potentially cause sleeplessness or an increased heart rate in sensitive individuals. It takes an estimated 1,800 gallons of water to produce a pound of beef, which works out to 27 gallons per gram of protein. A lion's roar can reach 114 decibels, measured at a 1-meter distance, and can be heard up to 5 miles away. The secret to their powerful roar lies in their unique vocal cords. Unlike most animals, lions, and tigers too, have square-shaped vocal folds. This special shape lets them produce that thunderous sound without straining their lungs as much as other animals would. About 12.5% of a dog's brain is dedicated to interpreting smells. Dogs have a more developed, specialized structure called Jacobson's organ or vomeronasal organ that allows them to process scents separately from breathing, also making their sense of smell far superior to humans. Because of the gravitational pull between the Earth and the Moon, our planet's rotation is gradually slowing down, making days about 2.3 milliseconds longer every 100 years. While it might not sound like much, this slowdown has been happening for millions of years. In fact, when dinosaurs walked the Earth, a day lasted only 23 hours. Children have approximately 30,000 taste buds, and they are located throughout the mouth. Unfortunately, for most adults, many of these, up to 2/3, have disappeared by the time of adulthood, and they are largely restricted to the tongue. The skin is the human body's largest organ. It usually makes up around 16% of a person's total body weight. Most mammals tend to have twice as many nipples as the average number of babies they have at once. For instance, humans usually have one baby at a time, but we have 2 nipples. This interesting pattern is sometimes called the half-nipple rule. However, opossums seem to be an exception to this rule. They have an odd number of nipples, which is quite unusual in the animal kingdom. Cats are a bit unique when it comes to reproduction. Unlike many other animals, a female cat only releases eggs when she mates. This means that if she mates with multiple male cats, each egg could be fertilized by a different one. So, a litter of kittens can have different dads. However, just because kittens in a litter might look different doesn't always mean they have different dads. Sometimes it's simply due to the way cat genetics work. Horses are obligatory nose breathers. Their soft palate separates the airway from the mouth, preventing them from breathing through their mouths. Additionally, horses can't pant to cool down like many other mammals. Dragonflies have a 95% success rate in killing their prey, making them the most successful predatory hunters on the planet. In comparison, cheetahs have a 58% success rate, and lions are successful only 25% of the time. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed these fun facts, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an amazing story. See you next time.